The Leafs are on a hot streak we haven't seen in quite some time, and with injuries piling up and third-string goaltenders taking over the crease, as well as some surprise performances, can Sheldon Keefe continue to get this group playing as well as they are? All of that and more in this episode of Leafs Digest. My name is Darius Domingues, and before we get into the video, guys, we've noticed that about 80% of you watching our videos are not subscribed. So if you could do myself and the other content creators on this channel a huge favor, hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with everything Toronto Maple Leafs. But without further ado, let's get right into the video, guys. I have some praise for Coach Keefe, all right? I love what Sheldon Keefe has been able to do this season, and he's caught a lot of flack in seasons past and even at the beginning of this season. But considering how well the Leafs have been doing so far this season, I think it's time to sit back and really look at everything, and we'll get into some stats in this video and some other things, as well as some surprise performances. Sheldon Keefe has gotten this team to play some really, really good hockey, all right? And I mean, look at this. The Leafs are on a 9-1-3 run, considering everyone has been freaking out every time they do lose. That is a, amazing record, 9-1-3, and they're grinding out the wins. It's true. What he says here, they are grinding out the wins with injuries on the back end. Sheldon Keefe deserves some credit here, and honestly, I think he does. The Leafs look like they're starting games on time, which has been something I have been, on them about for so long, and it's been a problem since the Mike Babcock years. They have not started games on time. It is not a surprise. It is nothing new. And, in the last two games, they got scored on first in Long Island, but honestly, I don't think they felt out of place. They got right back on the board, and again against the New York Rangers, amazing game. They got off to a great start, so more of that, please. Sheldon Keefe looks like they're getting the guys prepared, and guys are making the most of their opportunities as well. Simon Benoit has come in, now he's a second pairing defenseman. With all the injuries, he has made the most of his opportunity, and there's been a lot of guys like that, like Noah Gregor on that first line as well. Getting an opportunity there with Matthew Nice with the flu bug or whatever's going around the team right now. But honestly, I love what he's been able to do with the team so far this year. And honestly, like I said, he's gotten a lot of flack, but we got to take a look at these stats, all right? If you look at Leafs coaches over the year of all time, forget over the last few years, of all times, and you sort for wins, Sheldon Keefe is actually fifth all-time in the wins department. It's going to take him a while to catch some of those greats like Dick Irvin, Pat Quinn, of course, and obviously Punch Imlach was there for like half of everyone's lifetime. It's going to be hard to catch him. Coaches do not last that long anymore. But Sheldon Keefe, fifth all-time. I also think it's pretty funny Mike Babcock is there in sixth as well, considering, how it ended. But he did coach some good teams. The Leafs have been good. We're watching a good stretch of Leafs hockey right now. I think we should all appreciate that. And like I was saying, Sheldon Keefe, his record is absolutely insane. 181, 77, and 35. I mean, over the course of, I guess, technically 4 seasons now at this point, 100, well, not 4 full seasons, obviously, but 181, 77, and 35 is incredibly respectable, all right? Especially among the greats. Fifth all-time for the Leafs, which is crazy. Just a historic franchise, and he's already fifth all-time. So got to give some flowers to Sheldon Keefe there. I know a lot of us get frustrated with some of the decisions he makes, and he doesn't have, that much experience in the playoffs and deep in the playoffs at the NHL level, but this guy is a winner. He's won everywhere he's gone. Multiple OHL finals with the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, multiple Western Conference finals in the OHL as well. He's won a Calder Cup, multiple deep playoff runs with the Toronto Marlies. He just has to do it at the NHL level, and I'm hoping that this year he can break through with this team, because finally they broke through that curse last year. So hopefully he can continue to take them to the promised land, because they're playing well despite injuries and all these other things, these ailments that they're having to deal with. They are playing pretty well. And some more stats just to get into. Since John Klingberg got injured and stopped playing and obviously was shut down for this season, the Leafs have lost only once in regulation over the span of 12 games. Guys, we're talking about how they're not winning in regulation. They have only lost once in regulation since Klingberg has gone down with injury, and that was 13 games ago. I think that is pretty fantastic. That's not bad at all, considering like we were saying, they're missing Giordano, they're missing Timothy Liljegren. There's talks of trades. You got your technically a third stringer in Martin Jones. Martin Jones is not a bad goalie by any stretch. He played really well with Seattle last year, but nonetheless, he is technically your third string. So despite everything, they're playing pretty well. And if we take a look here as well, in the last 15 games, the Leafs are 10-2-3. Again, awesome record. It feels like the sky is falling whenever they do lose, though. I mean, they've only lost 5 times in total in the last 15 games. And I mean, it feels like Disasterville and they have to make trades, but they're doing really well despite everything, considering they're missing 3D, as it says here. And with goalies rotating like a revolving door, considering Wall is hurt, and then Samsonov had the flu, and then Martin Jones has to come in because it's a back-to-back. This is with their team not playing anywhere close to their best. They have 23 out of a possible 30 points in their last 15 games. Pretty respectable. They're up there with some of the top teams in the league. The Leafs are now 7th in the entire National Hockey League. They've climbed despite the injuries and all the trade talks. It is phenomenal. If we take a look here as well, their percentages to make the playoffs have now jumped up to 94%, sitting 7th in the National Hockey League, like I just mentioned. And obviously, you can look at all the conference final and divisional final percentages, but I mean, nobody can really predict that. Nobody would have predicted Florida making it as far as they did last year. But another first round against the Florida Panthers looks like it might be on the horizon, which would be very interesting. I wonder if the Leafs could hang with the Panthers physically this year as well. Time will tell. Will they add at the deadline? We've talked about it in multiple videos on the channel so far this week. And last week, they are targeting defensemen. They do want to make a move for a defenseman. So I think it would be pretty interesting. But without further ado, before we wrap up the video, I do want to talk about some underrated performances from the Leafs right now, because obviously we all talk about Matthews, Marner. Nylander's had an amazing start to the season. I think he's on an 8-game point streak now after having his 17 or 18-game point streak disturbed. So he's back on the horse for sure. So everyone talks about those guys. But honestly, we have to talk about some of the underrated performers. Jake McCabe, throwing the bod. Love what I'm seeing from him. All right, Nick Robertson, he's not chipping in, but I love that third line. Max Domi at 3C. He's playing well. It's no surprise that Brad Treliving does want to upgrade that position. He's playing well, and I don't know if you should fix something that is not necessarily broken. I wanted to get into some stats here as well for Calle Jarnkrok. This is a guy that when they brought in last year, I wasn't too sure about him. He has grown exponentially on me. All right. After 25 games last year, he had 5 goals, 4 assists for 9 points. And this year, after 26 games, he has 16.7 goals, 9 assists. This is playing technically less minutes on the third line, but that third line is buzzing. He's only $2.1 million against the cap for 2 more years. He's cheap, reliable, and he fits anywhere in your lineup. He's like the Swiss Army knife that they always used to use for Alex Kerfoot, except I think that Alex Kerfoot made way too much money, and Jarnkrok is more effective in every role he's put in. So some flowers for Calle Jarnkrok there as well. He's been playing fantastic, and the Leafs are just buzzing on all cylinders right now. They are really a good team. Like we mentioned, 7th in the National Hockey League after a pretty mediocre start like last season as well. But what can we say about the Leafs? Simone Benoit as well. Nick and I on the channel keep talking about him. He's playing really well. And honestly, just because on paper or his name, he doesn't have too much notoriety in the NHL or any of that, he's playing well. So why would you take him out of the lineup or even replace him? When guys come back from injuries, like Mark Giordano from the injured finger, his broken finger, should be soon. Even Timothy Liljegren is starting to skate again. I'm not sure you take Simone Benoit out of the lineup. He probably just slides down. He's been very effective. And I think that is great for the Leafs because in the last few years, we haven't seen that. We haven't seen guys come up from either the Marlies or free agent signings really grab a hold of those opportunities and say, hey, you know what? I'm here. I want to stick in this position. I want to take over this position. We haven't seen too much of it, and we're seeing it here with a couple guys. So that'll wrap up today's video. Let me know what you think of the Leafs' start to the season so far. We are almost done December. It's almost a new year. and things are going to, kind of plateau. There might not be too much movement within the division, although the Atlantic division is very good and very close. So there could be, some winning streaks and losing streaks determining seeding in the playoffs. So it should get pretty interesting. But like I said, let me know what you think of the Leafs, and let me know what you think of Sheldon Keefe. He's caught a lot of flack, but he signed a 2-year extension this last summer. And honestly, I love what he's done with this team. So let me know what you think in the comments, and we'll see you guys for a video tomorrow.